Hello, welcome to this FDP on use of ICT for online and blended learning. In this week and the next, we are going to discuss an important topic of how to build and nurture collaborative communities. This is the first session of that series. In this session, I propose to discuss some preliminary aspects of collaborative work. So, let us see what are the kind of activities which are done collaboratively and who are the actors or the people who work in collaboration. Here are some examples. Consider that staff in one office needs to prepare a report for which inputs might come from one person, another person might draft a preliminary version, a third person might add some tables. Collectively, they will prepare a report. So, the action being collaborated upon is preparation of a report, and the actors in this collaborative effort are the set of office staff. Consider another activity, that of road construction. Who are the people who generally participate in constructing road? A set of engineers and construction workers. They together work over a long period of time. You can easily see that unless they collaborate properly, a proper road will not be constructed. Consider the team assignment in our FDP. All of you have formed teams of 2, 3, 4 people each or whatever, and you will be working subsequent to the end of the online activities of this FDP. You will be working together collaboratively to prepare one particular project or an assignment which will submit. So, the actors in this case will be a small group of participating teachers. Consider in our own academic area a multidisciplinary research problem. For example, a problem which deals with, let us say, big data analytics of cancer cells. Now, that would require people from multiple disciplines. So, usually you will have faculty, research scholars, research staff. An important aspect of such collaborative working on large multidisciplinary research projects is that people may not be at the same place, they may be working in different institutes. In conclusion, we say that collaborative activities require several people to work together. These people are not identically handling exactly the same activity, different people are handling different activities, yet they need to work together. More important, while most of the time such collaborative groups will be working at the same place, there are areas, including the ones in which we are talking about for collaborative efforts, where people will actually come from different places. They will not necessarily be available at the same place. Let us now look at the nature of collaboration which will permit us to perform the desired activity properly. First, consider an officially organized effort. An officially organized effort will involve people working in some kind of a hierarchy which is predefined officially. For example, the leaders for such a collaborative effort are always appointed by someone. So, thus there is a chief executive officer of a company, there are managers, in an office there are section officers, in an institution there is a principal or director, there are deans, there are heads of the departments, there are faculty members, technical staff, they are all organized in a hierarchy, and therefore, when such teams work together, the organization is automatically arranged. In such a hierarchical organization, tasks are typically assigned and monitored. This helps in ensuring that timely completion of activities happen and that the quality is ensured to be at a good acceptable level. What about the incentives for individuals? Very simple. In an officially organized effort, all individuals are actually employees typically, and therefore, all the individuals receive salary or some kind of a payment as honorarium or whatever. Actually, this is important because it makes every individual accountable. The accountability in any collaborative effort is important, as you can easily see. If in a team of 6 people, one person just does not work properly, the whole team effort may collapse, and that is why it is important that if such things happen, that person is held accountable, is either replaced or is asked to pull up and work better. Such is the nature of official collaboration. But since we are going to deal with voluntary collaboration, let us look at how a volunteer effort will look like. In such an effort, individuals will come forward on their own. Why they come forward? Because they share the same passion, the same objective to be achieved. In such a volunteer effort, leaders usually emerge either through consensus or through initiative. What about the tasks? Well, you require some direction, some planning. Now, these tasks are typically self-monitored. So, I am accountable to myself. I should know that if I do not do my assigned job properly, the entire group effort will fail. There is no external obligation, there is not necessarily an external supervision, and more important, the only incentive in volunteer effort is that the individuals are recognized. They are recognized by the team members, they are recognized by the peers. If the collective activity results in something extremely useful, such as a Linux operating system or Moodle software for example, then the creators are recognized by the entire world. That is actually the only incentive. But please note that the accountability which can be guaranteed more or less in an official collaborative effort is actually missing, and therefore, all the more it is important that individuals believe that they themselves hold themselves accountable for the activity of the project. So, that means self accountability is of supreme importance in any such volunteered collaborative effort. Let us see a few more things about voluntary collaboration. First of all, we will always see that when something significant is being attempted, a community of collaborating people will emerge, and such community will emerge for a specific purpose or objective. How will that emerge? It will emerge because members share a common passion. They all have the same objective, they all want to work for the same objective. What it means is that each member who joins the effort is willing to commit time and efforts to make the contribution. It is this willingness which, once I announce that I am willing to work, I hold myself accountable as I just mentioned, and therefore, my effort, my contributions can be taken for granted by rest of the team. It is also assumed that such volunteers who come together have relevant competence. Now, I can't just say I have passion for that activity, therefore I want to join, but I know nothing about it. Such a person could be good cheerleader, but will not be able to make contributions. So, obviously, majority of the people forming the voluntary community will have necessary expertise, skills and competence to do at least part of the overall work that is envisaged. What is equally important is that the engagement rules, that means how work will be distributed, who will do what, who will listen to whom, who will monitor, etc., they need to be defined. In a voluntary effort, they usually get defined at the very beginning in the initial stages. Please note that these are automatically defined in official engagements, but not in a voluntary engagement. But it is vital that these be defined, established right at the beginning, so that the work proceeds smoothly. What about leadership? We obviously do not have an appointed CEO or appointed manager or appointed head. Leadership usually emerges in such group efforts, based typically on the initiative that is taken by someone. Now, suppose the person who takes an initiative and is accepted as a leader by the community, after some time the leader gets nirvana and goes away. Some other leader is automatically chosen discreetly by the volunteering group and the activity goes forward. So, in effect, the leadership emerges and it may change from time to time. Equally important to note that individuals, since the whole effort is voluntary, individuals may join at any time and may leave at any time. Of course, we expect that people who join and who are admitted to the group continue to work for a substantial period of time till at least the main objective is achieved. Otherwise, the person is not really behaving like a dedicated volunteer. Such then is the nature of voluntary collaboration. Please note that voluntary collaboration does not mean arbitrary misdirected work, it still means organized effort, it still means directed effort, except that the direction, organization, etc. must come out of the same voluntary group. And that is why I will repeat three things important. 1, the ground rules of interaction must be defined at the early stage. 2, a leadership must emerge and it must be respected. And 3, we must always be conscious of the fact that individuals may come, individuals may go, some individuals will contribute substantially, some may contribute less substantially. That is all is in the nature of the voluntary collaboration. How do you facilitate collaboration, official or otherwise? Simple. First of all, you require a proper environment for collaboration. What does this environment consist of? This comprises facilities, that means there should be a meeting place such as a conference room, communication facilities, email, telephone, office space for people to sit together and work, some stationery will be required, typing, printing, whatever. Second, willingness to work together, which means people must observe courtesy to each other and people must observe discipline of work. Thirdly, the environment must provide planning and directions, otherwise things will start happening haphazardly and arbitrarily. And fourthly, there must be supervision of the work that is happening and review of the work which ensures quality so that corrections can be made. You can immediately see that in an official collaboration, most of these things are defined except for the willingness to work together. So, an official system provides such environment, but the human will to collaborate is essential and that will cannot be enforced by hierarchy, that will must come from within. That is the reason why we always say that we might build large teams officially, assign them tasks, but unless the individual members of the team are willing to work with each other with courtesy and with proper coordination, nothing can happen. So, this human aspect remains even in an official environment. Let us now consider a voluntary environment. Volunteers and in a collaborative effort will always have the will and the passion. Why? Because that is why they have come together. In fact, they understand the importance of the human values of courtesy, of working together, etc., because they know they have to work together to achieve something. They have that passion. However, they lack the environment. They may not have office space, they may not have communication mechanisms, they may not have leadership already established, they may not be familiar with the different planning and the directions that need to be given, they may not be aware of how supervision is to be done, how reviews are to be done. They may just be experts and passionate about a certain part of the activity of the main objective. What we can conclude easily then is that while voluntary collaborative efforts can work very well, because the human beings who assemble to do that voluntary work are passionate about that objective, somehow we will have to provide for an environment which permits the availability of all other components that we have mentioned here. In this session, I would just illustrate two such sites. Both sites deal with collaborative efforts in developing open source software. All of you are now familiar with the open source software, we are all using open source software. One site is called sourceforge.net. This is a site where large number of projects collaboratively are being carried out by people and they are available for download. In fact, you will find many useful pieces of software that we use are available in the source code form on sourceforge.net. But this is not merely a repository of such artifacts or such open source software. This site also provides for collaboration and I would like you to explore how such site would be doing. Another site, for example, is called GitHub. This github.com is again a repository of large amount of open source software. Typically the source code is maintained there. In fact, OpenEDX source code is available on GitHub. IIT Bombay X source code is also available on GitHub. Now, while both of these are mainly repositories of the artifacts, that is the final thing that is created, these sites also provide environment for working collaboratively together. This is the task I would like you to do at the end of this session. Just let us look at the SourceForge site. So, you notice what the SourceForge site says: find, create and publish open source software. Now, this indicates what is the objective, but how it is to be achieved is all contained in the SourceForge. I would like you to look at the SourceForge site to see what kind of collaborative activities are possible. Let us look briefly at GitHub site. Notice the main page of the site itself says how people build software. So, millions of developers use GitHub to build personal projects, support their business and work together on open source technology. What it means is that this site will contain, if you explore, it will contain mechanisms which will permit collaboration or working together. I will conclude it by giving you a brief assignment. The activity to be done, this is not an assignment which is graded, so you do not have to submit, but I will urge each one of you to spend adequate time to do this activity. What is that activity? Visit and explore these two websites. Spend about 30 minutes on each website. You observe in general what are the objectives and what is the final deliverable that is to be achieved from use of any one of the websites. So, study both, but more importantly, try to find out, it will not be easy, try to find out how collaborative groups can form and work together on these sites. It will not be easy, but try to explore. Do not spend too much time. It is perfectly all right if you are not able to find any great details, but I just want you to explore this. So, spend not more than 30 minutes each on these two sites, but do the following: after you have visited the sites, write your comments on how the site could be useful for collaboration. So, I want you to write just one text file, one brief text file, could be just 2 paragraphs or 1 paragraph or whatever, where you have to comment on how you have found out, if at all you have successfully found out, that how these sites can be used for collaborative activity. Do not spend more than 30 minutes on doing that. But after you have written this text file, spend 5 more minutes to send this text file by email to your colleague team members. I repeat, only to the team members. So, you might have formed a team of 2 or 3 or 4 people, and by now you would have their email IDs. Each one of you will mail to all other members of the team whatever short text that you have written. I will later on tell you what to do with such emails, because every team will have 3 or 4 or 2 emails from other partners. So, you will obviously have to work together to find out what the entire team has discovered from this visit to the sites. So, email the file to members of your FDP team, ensure that your email is sent only to team members. So, obviously, you cannot use the facility of Moodle email, you must write the emails independently, and please note the time and date when you write the email, time and date when you explore these two websites. It is very important to record your efforts, not only what you did, but when you did that. So, it is almost like writing small diary entries for these tasks. That will not take more than 2 or 3 minutes. I will elaborate further, continuing this discussion in the subsequent sessions. Thank you.